Okay, I've made some, well, what I would term as reasonable progress with this. I've got two new steppers which I've fitted, and I've changed the sort of coupling down here to one of these more flexible ones. These are a bit loose still at the moment. I'm going to put new screws on just about every screw going, because some of these screws are loose that just do not tighten up. I'll just move this because I've got Pronto face open. Let me turn the motors off. Let me move this over, move this one over, and now I'm going to do a Z home. Sorry, I mean I'll just do a total home, so that's everything, send everything home. Now there's still a bit of wobble, particularly on this, I think on this side. It was wobbling even after I changed the motors. It was wobbling because I think this not leading screw exactly like a screw thing was still a bit of wobble after it was damaged. So I've turned it upside down. I had to strip it all down, turn it upside down, so, and that helps quite a bit. I think having these flexible couplings helps a bit as well. Looks smooth, but there is a tiny bit of wobble, I think more when I go up than when I go down. I'm still waiting for some parts. I still need a driver in the control unit, in this case the power the extruder, so I can't really print anything anyway. I've just got some heatsink pad stuff, so I'm going to be putting that on. In the control unit I've put two pieces of aluminium like fingers on the main heat sinks for the extruder and one for the heat bed. I might even screw a sort of extra heat sink to those as well to give them more cooling power. Now this will stop because there's a switch down here, see, so that's zeroed, that's zeroed, everything's zeroed. I'm going to give it a command, G0, Z250, so 250 high, and F125. F is like the feed rate, how fast it's going. Now I can see ever such a slight wobble, but these actual shafts, they're loose. They're sort of bearing shafts in a way. Now I did put a little bit of cardboard in each of these, in the bottoms, because this, particularly this spike one earlier on, it was actually catching a bit and like jumping up and then banging back down. Not loud, but very annoying. This limit switch here, I found that the wire was a bit dodgy. I had to resolder that, but that seems to be working okay now. Also around here, for that limit switch, I put a tiny little piece of square wood, super glued it there so that'll knock that limit switch when it comes down. I'll try and show you that later. I'll just leave it running. So it'll be stopping soon. It's getting near the top now. It stops sort of over just by counts in a way. There's no switch to tell it to stop. There we are, stopped. So everything in a way is coming from the home position, whatever the home position is set on. They call them end switches. I would say really the start switches, because that is the starting point it's going to come from. Those switches. There's one on the back over there, there's one on the Z, so that's X, Z. Sorry, I was saying the wrong way. That is, what is that? That is X. That is, must be Y then, is it? Oh, I give up with that. That's Z up and down anyway. I can't think at the moment. Let me tell this, come back home again so you can watch that again. See, that jumped a bit there. So sometimes I think this one on here is sticking a bit. But yeah, I just have to adjust because there are anti-backlash springs in these, like a nut there and a nut underneath. One on top, one underneath of it here. And basically by having the spring in there, it's supposed to stop anti-backlash. But I think it was a little bit tight on this white one. So I had to slacken it off. These are like held in the position by a hex hole in this plastic top. Well, more acrylic I think. But basically this motor here over here doesn't really wobble hardly at all. There's a little bit of wobble on the threaded rod, that's the name of it. There's a bit on this one as well. I don't know if you can see them, but they are almost oscillating a bit. And I can see the whole carriage like just rocking a bit like this, almost forward and back. See, when it's come down, hits the end, stops, and then it stops. So I'll take you to the right hand side. So if you look at my other video how violently this was moving, this stepper that used to be on here. As I said, those are two new steppers. And that coupling there is new, well both of them are new. I wanted to show you is this piece of wood, see just super glued this small piece of wood there, and when that comes down it knocks this limit switch. It's like the end stop for the Z. Lots of these screws are loose. Some of these are loose on these big balls that go all the way, like up and down here, still loose. I have a pack of nuts and bolts to do the frame, mainly the frame, and some other nuts and bolts. I don't know if you can see any wobble on there. Let me go home and then I'll come back up, because I think it's when it's lowered down that you see more of the wobble. Well, you might see it as we come down. So excuse me a bit. Seems to be particularly on this side, which is the side which had the really damaged stepper motor on it. So I'm a bit unsure about that bracket, whether that bracket that houses the motor is totally 100% straight yet. Just a second, sorry. I mean, X and Y are pretty good, so far as I can tell. It's mainly this Z that is causing all the problems. See, I sent it home there and it's just gone home. So I'm going to come back up again using a G-code command. So I'm having to look away when I do that. So let's see if we can see this wobble at all. You see that nut in the top here, that's certainly wobbling about a bit. So that's pushing against the spring in there, with the other spring underneath. It's supposed to be anti-backlash. I mean, if you look at the top, you can certainly see that the shaft is, the screw is sort of waving about. It is on the other side as well. Not a lot, but a bit. So basically, the printing is supposed to rely on the sort of bearing rods here, but these are definitely loose. So I'm going to put some packing in the top, like one of these on top, each side. I'm going to put a little bit of cardboard or something just to like put a bit of pressure on the top and hold that sort of still, hopefully, and replace all the nuts and bolts. I will do these bigger ones later on, but not immediately. It'll take a bit of time to get hold of them, I think. That's about it really. See, I've took the bed off just while I'm sort of working on it. I've took the heater off and I've stuck it up here out the way just so I can be working on it. The heater's not coming on, I'm just using front or face just to sort of move about and get the grease. I've been putting grease and oil on the sort of bearings and such like to try and get worked in quite a bit. I still haven't figured out really what I can do about these, because how can you tighten that up, that nut, that bolt almost here, when you've got the bed on, if you want to level it up, because there's a nut on that side and a nut on the other side. It's very difficult to get under here. So what I was thinking of doing is almost like tapping this out. But this is acrylic. Well, it's acrylic on the top, and underneath there is a metal plate under there. Same size, same shape. So I was thinking of trying to tap that out, but I'll also have to drill a heat bed. Sorry, it's not a heat bed. It doesn't get heated. It's just a print bed. So I say heat bed, sorry about that. So I would have to drill that out, because this would be a thicker nut and get different springs as well, because these aren't basically adjustable so far as I can tell, not without undoing the nut up underneath, because that is like a locking nut. So that nut has to lock against this nut to keep this still, keep it straight. If we just have one nut under there, then this can almost wobble about, because the hole in here is in a way a bit loose, so to speak. So I don't know what I can do about that. See, the new wires can do with covering over, a bit tidying up there. They're all, you know, things to do in the future. I just thought I'd give you an update. I'm still waiting for parts. I'm waiting for like the driver in the control unit. It's the control unit and the power supply. I'm just waiting for the driver, a new one, sort of a stepper driver. Yeah, it is a stepper driver to drive that, because the one that was in here was not working. I tried swapping them about and I found out, like by doing that, that it did not seem to be working anyway to me. So that's about it really. So there's a bit of a close look at that. Now duplicate clip just stops that like limit switch here coming down, the one I had to repair. The wire was actually a bit loose, so I think it was intermittent. Sometimes it was saying yeah it was catching it, and some other times it wasn't. But these are normally closed, I think it is. So if it becomes open, if the wire gets broken, it becomes open, then it will stop, which is safer in a way, and that's what was happening to me. I couldn't get the Z to come down, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. I couldn't figure out why, but it was just a wire right on the edge of the tab on the micro switch, the limit switch there, was just hanging on, and sometimes I think it was touching, other times it wasn't. So I'm going to change all the nuts. Where are we? Most of the nuts are bolts on the frame, sort of here. Going to change them all. Put some hopefully better ones on. Give some more rigidity, because some of those are a little bit loose, and you can't tighten them, you know, the screw just turns even if you got hold of them with a spanner. I'm starting to waffle on now, starting to ramble a bit. I'll just show you up there. You might notice there's a gap there. That's because, again, these big nuts, some of these big nuts, I can't tighten them up. So there's a gap in the, gap in the plastic around here. It just won't tighten. So I don't know what's wrong with them. The threads seem okay and the nuts seem okay, so something weird. Okay, I'll just show you pronto face. So there's a command there, I hope we can see that. When I want to go upwards, G0 space Z250 space F125, where F125 is like the feed rate. Another thing I noticed as well, when that Z thing wasn't working, this seemed to grey out until I fixed that switch on the Z. Okay, so some progress has been made. I'm reasonably pleased with that. A bit more work yet.